We are now.
Okay.
Yeah. Good. Thank you. So the stone's been repaired. They cut the joints. They resealed the whole stone length of this. The chimney is like brand new.
Yeah, let's do it before and after chimney, because that looks great.
Yeah, the old chimney
Yeah,
is it doesn't. You can see there were real structural challenges. The new chimney is fantastic. The mason that did this is second to none. Very good. They're the same mason that did Welsh Elementary for us. It's just the best. The guys came in over a couple of days, did each half of the roof. This is the final kind of product. We're finishing up some metal work this day. So we're good here. These are the chillers at north. This is one of the chillers disassembled and removed from the space. Our counter on the building, these are the doors to the boiler room. You can see the old chiller section coming out. The challenge was they have a brand new chiller here that comes in its entirety. And I was concerned that they weren't going to get this through those doors, but they surely did with a lift and a lot of hoisting, work its way in and get it in the building. So the first one will be in good shape as of tomorrow. Coming back to finalize the controls. We can run with each one of those one at a time and kept the other in operation. So we'll get this one running, then we'll take the next one out and take care of that. So we're in good shape with the chiller. The last thing I have for projects is to show you the natatorium project. So we took the stone out that was problematic, took off the driveway around the outside up to the point of where the new brick will be. The stone is going around the bottom. The corrosion on some of the metal studs, but the bottom of these things are very bad and brittle to the point where you can break them off from the moisture that was getting in from the outside. You can see the column as well. Also, the brick ledge, the ledge that was supposed to hold, this is where the stone used to sit. It was not sitting on the foundation the way it should have. It was hanging off the foundation by 1.5 inches across here. It was sitting on stone and wasn't done properly. So we need this brick shelf for our new brick. So we put a stainless steel plate anchored around the whole outside to the existing foundation. Now cantilevers out and gave us the shelf we need. We replaced the bottom track. You can see we have a new track. This corrosion is minimal. It's just a surface.
You sistered and enjoyed.
We sistered everything. Have a new base track, so it's all structurally sound. We put new exterior sheathing on, a liquid ply product with this exterior sheathing, and these are our grip ties that went on the outside. We unearthed the existing column that was problematic in the corner, which was actually out of plumb by 1/4 to 3/8. After we unearthed it, we got all of the corrosion off of it and welded the steel plates on the 4 sides. It's straightened back up. It's in great shape. So we're very fortunate.
You coat that or something? Yeah.
Good segue. So we have a high-performance coating. That's not just a regular paint system. That's a high-performance coating. We encased the entire thing in concrete, and now we're ready to go with the wall. So this is a drainage matrix system that goes between the brick and the wall. So any water that does get back there hits in the middle of that. Do flashing at the ground with weak pulse. So water will get behind. Brick does take in water, it's just the nature. It gets through, comes back out, and whips down to the ground. We had no system like that in the past. So we're in good shape there. My board consent agenda item is what I discussed, the change order that I'll bring on the 17th. Miscellaneous item, my last item for the night. Custodial services, I posted the RFP on the 17th of July. We reached out to 14 vendors. We found 14 large custodial vendors that are in the school business. We had very strong interest. We had a mandatory pre-proposal meeting here just the other day on Monday. I had 11 vendors at the pre-proposal meeting. We had about an 1.5 hour long meeting. I presented a PowerPoint that spelled out everything that's in the RFP, what the requirements are. We have a 3-year base bid, a 5-year alternate bid, and then an alternate bid for the old start times, the 6:30 to 10:30 that we did away with to see what the value of that is if we rebid it, and the current start finish time. So we can see how it compares to what we have. We did make a couple adjustments. We were working with different APA levels. It's an organization that dictates standards. For custodial, there's APA 1, 2, 3, and 4, I think even 5. 5 is basically a bathroom and a gas station. A 1 is a very clean space. We're looking at an APA level. We were working to an APA level 3 here, which is recognizes that the space is somewhat dirty. I mean, that's APA level 3. I can show you it's basically untidy, but clean. So meaning, I'll run the vacuum one day on the carpet, and the other 4 days, if I see large pieces of stuff, I pick them up. APA level 2 requires you to vacuum that carpet 3 days out of the 5 days, and the other 2 days you're cleaning stuff up. So it's just, we're asking for things that, instead of running some of the old Hoover vacuums that I can smell the rubber belts burning as they go over and I see the dirt stay behind, some equipment that has some backpack backs that will actually go through and clean our buildings. With the money we're putting into these, the finishes we're putting in, I think to clean them, those materials will be more sustainable. So this is Mark, I credit you because I've actually been really into this process for custodial. I think this is a good process, and because of the amount of time that's gone by, just a chance to make some adjustments.
Good. You haven't gotten any bids yet.
Proposals are due here segment. We didn't prepare either.
No.
Proposals are due the 18th of August, so I expect.
I don't get many of those now. So.
I know there's several people that are going after cars, getting a lot of questions from a handful of people. Aramark wants to stay. They have to adjust to the different levels that we're now showing, so there's going to be some adjustments. But really excited to get those and see where they shake out. I do have some dates on here that, again, are just the potential early dates that things could happen. I don't know that it would be this quick, but I tell the bidders that it could be as early as the September facilities. We have a couple of firms in to present a 15, 20-minute kind of thing based upon their scoring and interest, with an earliest potential award in October. We can hold these things for, I have a 6-month hold on their dollar amounts until we have to award. So it gives us time to move it down the road. But
how do we make sure they're following?
Well, we've implemented, Aramark's implemented things now that they didn't have before. They have electronic recording of how they're inspecting, and I can show you all those forms. Part of this, I think there's exhibits A through S for these proposals, and one of those is screenshots, capture shots of what their programs are and how they help manage this as well.
But I expect we're going to pay for.
Well, I guess we are because there's people that are so. I know Aramark knows there's people that want to come, and Aramark wants to stay. So I suspect that there's going to be a lot of strong competition. People want to come and get their feet in the door, so you can see some early, low percentages early as they grow.
I just want to make sure we get what we pay for.
Well, this RFP, I think, has helped me establish a little bit better grounds for that.
Fair.
And that's it for tonight. Happy to take questions. Right over lunch.
Public,
No, 4 minutes. We're coming up.
I got actually 6. It was technical.
Any public comment in a minute? Any board comments?
Well, I just want to repeat what Doug said just a second ago and remind everybody. I think what Doug said was this RFP process has helped him identify where we can better things and maybe get some better pricing for people and work vendors against each other, for lack of better.
Thank you.
So he did say thank you, and I don't get that often, so I appreciate it. But that's why it's so vitally important. I know we're working through some other RFPs, and we did it for not only our building projects that we did with Newtown Middle and Holland Middle, but some of the financial issues and insurance we're working through, so I appreciate it.
18 years is a long time.
It's a lot of, and it's not a little bit of work, but it's worth the process.
Well, the other thing I heard too was that in addition to the financial benefit, it's a fresh look at the way
Yes,
we're doing this operation. So that's a side benefit that
absolutely.
never occurred to me. Public comment?
Yes, I'd like to tag along with that thought, because I missed the meeting where we made sure you're doing the architect and construction engineer record for the district. I don't know why we didn't ask for bids from the people who are doing the high school wrestling or whatever, we just gave them those projects. I don't think it's good financial practice. Either we vote to make them the architect of record for the district and their new architect, and the board does that, or you go out to bid to make them that, or you go out, you at least take the two guys who use it and, give them like, what would your price be? And instead we just move right along. Secondly, I want to know, I'm going to ask your finance, where the money for the contingency that's not used on the LEED grant lives. Does it live in a capital planning?
Some capital project funding will be adjusted, the bond issues that we issue will be adjusted by the amount we spend at the end. We still have, you'll see, I show all the
Okay,
time,
so-
we have 20 million, we have to borrow, it
It
could end
goes-
up being 13 million.
Okay, so that's what you decided to do,
Yes.
is go less, okay. So that explains that. Second, there were a lot of Rolling Hills parents who offered at the Rolling Hills meeting to go to Richborough for a year so that you could stay on track and redistrict if you kept their school open. And now when they hear Wrightstown is going there, I think it's going to be a little slap in the face for them. I still disagree, and I will take every 3 minutes to say, I don't understand why we're building 15 classrooms, because this says we need 109, and we have 118 by the end, and we only need 111. And then says that for less than $1 million, we can bring the 100 to 122. Then I don't hear anything about the roof at Rolling Hills. Those kids have to live there for 2 more years. So either you fix the roof or you buy more buckets. I don't know, what you're gonna do. But just to pretend that you don't have a problem over there because you're gonna close the school is not the right thing to do by that building, because that building will probably have a use. And I also believe that by expanding Wrightstown, you have closed off your option to ever use the house track. And you're setting up a situation where you're only gonna have a 2-section school, and it's gonna be the most expensive by far. So we are spending $25 million to make the most inefficient school live on forever and close off ever using the house in case these projections start to go the other way. So if you're gonna invest the money there, you'll never invest it in the house, you might as well sell the property. What's it gonna sit there for? You put all rights down to make it a K-6, 2-section school, which is the most inefficient that we're gonna have, no matter what happens. So, I hope that you'll do something about the roof instead of buying more buckets for Rolling Hills. But to not even have it in your radar is, I'm glad to live there for 2 more years. You treat those people like they're property.
All right, 2 things before we go on. I asked you about buckets in the thing. How many buckets are in the Rolling Hills?
We do not have, I know that it's been brought up a couple times, and I don't want to publicly argue about it. It's not problematic. We don't have leaks all over the school. We have, when we get heavy horizontal rains like they do at other schools, we have water that comes in equipment, and we address it. But I mean, we address, if there are occasional leaks in any school, I don't care if it's Rolling Hills or Council Rock South or wherever it is, we address them with our operating budget. We have a roofing contractor that helps us district-wide. They come in and they address it. So I am not aware. I've asked our custodian on site if he's aware of any. I don't think the principal or anyone is aware of where we have, buckets all over the place, honestly. So happy to address something if I'm not aware of it, but I don't.
So then you should be directly made aware the next time there's any issue.
And then lastly, the professional services. We are not required to bid professional services. Okay.
Oh, can I ask why? That's something I was curious about before, but.
Procurement law excludes professional services from having to be publicly bid. So it's the law behind it saying what you have to bid and what you don't have to bid. That's specifically excluded, just like there's books and things like that don't have to be bid on either. And it's just excluded from the school code.
All right, but just because it doesn't have to be bid,
Best practice.
can you still
Well-
bid anyway?
Time. How long would it have taken to bid?
It all depends. If you're saying actually go out for a public bid, I would tell you that it takes 3 weeks to advertise, then you'd have to get responses, detailed responses, and I would tell you that through an interview process. It could take months before you could actually select a vendor, and I would tell you that I would never select the lowest responsible bid when
Oh,
you
right,
get
right.
professional services. So it's a whole different animal as opposed to buying a commodity. If you're buying a baseball, you're gonna buy the baseball that you've spec'd out. But to buy a professional service like an architect or something like that, it's just a different ballgame, just like other consultants.
But ultimately, there was no bidding because of the tight timeframe.
It wasn't.
If we had, if not for the pressure of the timeline, we would have been more open to a conversation of,
Yeah, well, I would have called it a request for proposal process, where there would be an interview process and credentials and all that type of stuff, experience and all that. It's very different than a public bid,
right,
where they only have to show that they're responsible and then they have the lowest price. With a professional service, you better be able to show a lot more ability, expertise.
I understand that, I do, but it also, if it could save, maybe you could shave off just by the competition, like with the janitorial services, if quite a few top-notch builders, architects, whatever, if they were competing, they might go, I mean, to get a job like Council Rock, school district is, if you do a good job and you maybe can lower your margin, for the good of the community, you're.
I will tell you that I was at a different school district, and I was in litigation for 7 years, and it was because of our professionals.
Well-
I ended up having to go to mediation, and we wrote a check for about 1.6 or 1.7 million dollars. And I will tell you, I'll put it right on the people I was counting on. So professional service people, especially an architect and things like that, they can get in a lot more of a mess than you are with the amount of money and the cost of this. I will tell you, I've experienced it. I walked out of the mediation with tears in my eyes because what was going on was the general contractor did not provide the services he was supposed to, but he knew how to lawyer up and get his expertise in there. We didn't even talk about the issues. We talked about the architect, how he didn't manage the project properly, and it wasn't the time to bid it because there were so many addendums and all that. And they talked about that, and they had everybody turned on us. We didn't get to talk about what went wrong with the general contractor. We just wrote a check to him. And I will tell you, I was through it, and an architect and our construction managers are so important in doing this. And I would believe that there are contractors that just want to look at specs that aren't real good or well documented, because all they do is look through them and say, oh, there's a change order there, there's a change order here, oh, we're going to make a mess of this one. And you really have to get, well, Doug, you know how I lived through that.
So-
Savvy contractors.
So all that said, right,
Yes,
and
it was time.
I understand. The last time that we had this discussion was for the 2 middle schools. And your suggestion, Doug, was to go with, was it Schrader? And whatever team you had been working on or worked with on the other schools. And we had asked you to do an RFP with a limited scope RFP with teams that you were comfortable with. So
We
only,
had like 5 firms that we went.
yeah, and then we narrowed it down quickly to 3.
Narrowed down to 3 and then.
Right. And then we interviewed those 3. So it really wasn't a public bid and someone that we're not comfortable with and we have to worry about going to mediation with. It was, which can always happen with anyone, by the way, right? It was someone that Doug and the group here was comfortable working with. Let's bring in these people that we know can, or we feel can do a good job and compete for this job. But Denise is 100% right. That wasn't even discussed. At least I wasn't part of the discussion for this process. And it was just awarded, which you were at the meeting. I didn't support. And I'll continue to object to that. So it's something we should have looked at. What I did say, just to be absolutely clear, when I was talking to Doug about this, when we were talking about timeline and looking at the HAL track, I did say, unless the new people had an objection to using these people, the team that we have in place for the 2 schools, because we had just interviewed them 2 years ago, that I was comfortable moving forward with that, right? But Ed wasn't there, Mike wasn't there, and certainly you weren't there. So if there were objections there, I would want to go through the process specifically for that project.
Well, and also, the projects that were recently awarded were, although not the 5 firms, the 2 firms that we recently brought on board 3 years ago, 2 years ago, were both given a packet for request for proposal. So these weren't handed to David Schrader. These projects were bid Breslin against Schrader, Hillcrest and Wrightstown. They both had a packet the day after we had the master capital planning meeting. There was interest in moving this way, knowing the next Thursday was the board meeting. I sent these proposals to each firm. They provided me with their proposals the next Monday. And then there's an evaluation of the fees provided by each. So there was competition between the 2 architectural firms we currently have. So that Schrader was lower than Breslin by hundreds of thousands of dollars on both projects. And the fees were very good, and that's why Schrader was given Hillcrest and Wrightstown. So they weren't just, it wasn't, hey Schrader, you want to do these jobs, give me your fee and here it is. We competitively sought RFPs for that through that
But
process.
there was no discussion at a facilities meeting, which is normally what happens. So
There was an email, I believe.
there was
an
no
email.
discussion at a facilities meeting.
How-
before that happened.
What did you, wait a minute, you just said there was an email to all the board.
What about the public? There was no discussion at a facilities meeting before it happened, that's all it is. This was very much a function of the timeline, that's all.
Okay.
So had we had the benefit of more time, we may have done things differently, but given the time frame, this was what was required. So there was no discussion at a facilities meeting, it was presented in an email and we voted on it at a board meeting with information that was given to the board with no previous discussion, that's all.
Good.
Okay.
Did you put the slides up on the web?
I'm sorry,
Did you put these slides up on the web?
I put these are always posted to the web.
Okay, outside the YouTube thing.
They're in,
It's under the committees.
the facilities, and they're being posted, I don't know, it's not at, these are posted on YouTube, right?
They're part of YouTube, but they're hard to click through and everything when they're part of YouTube. If
They're part of, I think they're attached to my meeting minutes as well, so I don't know if they're easy to say. But,
Sure.
All right.
I'm good.
You're good?
I would think they'd
Bob, you're on.
more than that.